Welcome to this episode of Behind the Map. This is an occasional series where we talk with Googlers who work on the Enterprise Maps for Business team. My name's Dylan Thomas. I'm a Community Maps Manager. And with me today is Sean Maday, who's a Product Manager on Google Earth Enterprise. I'm very glad you're here.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity.
All right, well, let's get right into it.
All right.
Who are you and what do you
questions.
do?
All right. So my name is Sean Maday. I've been at Google about 3.5 years. My current role is as Product Manager for Google Earth Enterprise and Google Maps Engine Portable. Before this, I was in this current role. I was a sales engineer for about 2.5 years and had a great opportunity to travel the world, talk to folks who were using Maps, Google Maps in their enterprise applications and help them kind of find new creative ways to unlock their data.
Cool. So it sounds like you've been doing geo for at least a little while. How did you get into geo?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm not kind of a classically trained geographer. I was in the Air Force for 5 years, and was as an intelligence officer. A big part of what I did was related to mapping and remote sensing. So I became kind of a user and became enamored with the Google Earth Enterprise product, and have kind of been working around the product ever since.
Enamored ever since.
Absolutely.
So I am a classically trained geographer. I'm not sure what that means exactly, but yeah.
You can probably tell me things about plate tectonics that I wouldn't understand.
I should do that.
Okay. Maybe that could be another Behind the Map session.
Exactly, right.
I look forward to that.
One other question before we get to what the customers were wondering about is wondering what you got excited about Maps for Business right now. What's interesting?
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think the general trend that has me excited, has a lot of my coworkers excited, is just the consumerization of mapping technology. This technology used to be kind of the reserved for just those remote sensing scientists or those GIS professionals.
Those classically trained geographer types.
Those darn classically trained geographers. And today we're seeing this technology just become ubiquitous. You know, it's embedded in apps. I used Uber this morning to get to a shuttle stop, and sure enough, you know, I dropped a pin on a map, and maps have become just another part of the way we communicate data and we share information with one another. And that trend is really exciting.
So sort of the ubiquity of it, right? Is what
yeah, absolutely. And that ubiquity has so many neat enterprise use cases. You know, I was talking to an organization recently that manages a large campus of hospital buildings, and they were using our Google Maps coordinate to manage their tech support. So they dispatch technical service reps out into the field. They'd go to fix a printer, say, and they could on this mobile app, bring in floor plans from Google Maps Engine, and so they could just see not only Google's road network, but then the authoritative floor plans,
business data, right?
Exactly, that the university had shared with them, or the university medical system had shared with them, and then from there they could also, one of the products I'm really focused on is offline, and how do we make sure that they have that map data available to them if they are in the basement or they're in some kind of austere situation where they don't have any connectivity to the outside world.
Yeah, cool. So I think it's something we've both heard from customers actually, right? Is just the consumerization piece doesn't just mean bringing the consumer stuff to the enterprise necessarily, but the learning factor there, just making, if I know how to use Google Maps on my phone, I kind of know how to use the coordinate app, for example, right? It's just
absolutely
sort of pretty straightforward. So you mentioned offline. This is a good segue. We've got a number of questions from customers who I mentioned we were talking to you, and the questions started rolling in. So let's get to it.
Sounds good.
The first one is about Google Earth Enterprise, which is the product you're a product manager for.
Absolutely.
And how that fits with Google Maps Engine. So how do the two products look together?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. And so Google Earth Enterprise is really Google's first Maps for Business product. It's been around for 8 years, and we have just an extremely loyal customer base who have done really interesting things with this technology. Google Maps Engine is kind of the new kid on the block, but for the last couple years, Google has invested a lot of time and resources into standing up a very unique geospatial platform that runs in Google's cloud, the same cloud that provides YouTube and Gmail and those sorts of things.
Yeah.
So what's really exciting for me when I look at these two technologies is that as we have now petabytes of data and tens of terabytes of data that customers may have in their repository, they can go to Google Maps Engine, they can process that offloading that process that they would normally do on their own hardware, they can now do in the cloud.
Right, got it. So you're saying that GEE, Earth Enterprise, you got the processing component, and then you got the serving component, and the processing component is really compute intensive, so with GME you could offload that to Google's infrastructure.
Absolutely. And then maybe you have some proprietary layers that you just don't want to share with the cloud, or
Sure.
you legally can't share with the cloud.
Okay.
We're going to give you tools on-prem to make sure that you can process those, combine that with the data you have in Google Maps Engine, and there you have kind of the best of both worlds. And so we see GME as an integral piece of the GE story, and GE is an integral piece of the GME story.
Sounds like one big story.
It's one big story. It's a novel.
It's a novel. So other one was about GEE 5.0, which is a pending release that I think you maybe touch on a bit, and actually specifically about WMS support, which is sort of the open standard for sharing data, right?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this GE 5.0 release. We've had a ton of great engineering effort over the last 9 months or so to get this release and make it happen. It's currently out in a beta form, so current customers can download it, install it. And we're actually pushing for a production release on the 24th of October. So really exciting to have this on the horizon. One feature, there's many very exciting features that our team has worked on here for this GE 5.0 release. One of those features is WMS.
Okay.
And our focus with WMS was to give a way for our customers to take the imagery that they have loaded into Google Earth Enterprise that they're going to use with Google Earth or Google Maps, but also make use of that imagery in some of their GIS applications or remote sensing applications.
So like QGIS or something like that,
exactly.
right?
ArcMap, QGIS, NASA Whirlwind, a way that you could, from a customer's perspective, have one repository of imagery that could feed both your Google Maps, Google Earth, and your OGC compliant GIS software suite audiences.
So speaking of OGC compliance, the question was specifically asking about versions around that. I don't know how much you can share on that today.
Yeah, so it's a great question. We are going to support WMS 1.1 and the 1.3 spec. So both of those specs with standard kind of get map and
perfect. Okay. Great.
And get image requests.
Yeah.
And then the tiles are going to come out in their native projection. So if you're projecting from a Mercator map, those WMS tiles are going to come out in a Mercator projection.
Okay.
If you're pulling the tiles from a 3D database, they will be in the Plaque Array projection or the flat projection. And so what we then would envision is that our customers can marry this Google Earth Enterprise 5.0 offering with an open source tool like Map Server or an open source utility like GeoServer, and they could do cascading reprojection to take these tiles they're getting from Earth Enterprise and reproject them into any of the projections that their users may require.
So the WMS piece we have is the OGC compliant spec, but then if you want to do additional work, then you can just plug in whatever open source server you're interested in using to do all extra magical stuff there.
Absolutely, all those reprojection use cases.
Yeah, cool. Thanks. Let's move on to another one. Apparently you gave a presentation at ASPRS in Baltimore. And someone saw it and they have a question.
Well, I don't want to take too much credit here, but when I presented in Baltimore, the Ravens won the Super Bowl. So I think I have a lot to do with that.
There you have it. Yeah, well, moving on.
Yes, sir.
I think the question there was, you were really talking about offline and taking things portable, and you touched on this. And so what the question was, can you share a little bit more about that project generally, what our approach is in Maps for Business, and then also to what extent that moves to GME customers as well for Maps Engine?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm really excited to be part of a team right now that has been working on the ability to cut portable maps and globes from Google Maps Engine.
Yeah.
So you can take all this data you've uploaded to the cloud, download it in whole or maybe just a part of it as it makes sense, and then drop that. It comes down as a single file. You can drop that file then on your laptop, run it with Google Maps Engine Portable, or very soon you're going to be able to drop that on your Android device and interact with that map or that 3D globe from a tablet or a smartphone.
So the thing you mentioned there was Google Maps Engine Portable being the sort of the file format and the serving technology there.
Yeah, so we call those portable cuts as kind of the file format, and then we have kind of a flexible suite of serving solutions. So whether it's a single Android device, maybe it's laptop portable in a small tactical operations center or a small group kind of environment, or even Google Earth Enterprise Server. If you need to serve thousands of users, you can cut that imagery, terrain, and vector data out of Google Maps Engine, drop that file, which could be very large, on your Google Earth Enterprise Server, serve it to everybody behind your firewall on your network.
So I think that sort of comes full circle to what you were talking about initially, where you could potentially offload the compute-intensive processing of data, what you might consider the fusing of data, and then the offline component, it's what Google Earth Enterprise is today, except we've now got a really nice story with Maps Engine and Earth Enterprise.
Absolutely.
And we're adding the ability to not just use GEE Server, but also some new technology.
Absolutely.
Very nice. Okay, thanks. We have one other question. It was, what is the anticipated impacts to previous versions of GEE databases and globes in the new version? Basically an upgrade question. What's the impact?
Yeah, absolutely. We're kind of keenly interested in making sure that our customers can upgrade seamlessly to GE 5.0.
Okay.
So with the release that we'll put out on the 24th of October, we will have an upgrade guide, and we've run several different upgrade scenarios internally just to make sure that whether you're upgrading directly from 4.4 or 4.4.1 to 5.0, we have good options and good instructions for you. Generally, it's going to require rebuilding the Google Earth Enterprise database.
Okay.
And in some cases, it's going to require building the project or the project level assets.
Okay. And so when you say in some cases, that's all on the documentation you just described, sort of the upgrade guide, right?
Yep. And of course, we have, our enterprise support folks are always there to help if there's specific questions or unique environment questions. Jump on the enterprise support portal, file a ticket. Avnish and the team and my team will work really hard to make sure our customers can make this transition.
Great. I'm glad you mentioned that. I know Avnish is going to be doing a bit more of a deep dive on what's new in 5.0. We'll be recording and releasing that later. But for now, Sean, thanks very much indeed for joining us.
Well,
really appreciate it. And that's it for this time. We'll see you next time on Behind the Map.